and the spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Welcome everyone, Kyle here, and it is Saturday, and you know what that means. It's time for all the action figure news of the week that interested me, that hopefully interests you, and here I am filming the toy news episode number 299, which means next week's episode, what is it? 300! The 300th edition of the toy news next week, so be ready for that. But here we are. I'm fresh off a red-eye flight from LA. No sleep. I'm going on like 28 hours of no sleep, so you can hear it in my voice a little bit. But we got toy news to talk about. We got to get down to that. And just got in from LA. Of course, most people know I was at the Mattel Revealed event this week. Hopefully you guys saw me out on that live stream. It was a lot of fun. I'm going to talk a lot more about that in my podcast this week. I'll give you all the details of the flight, the ins and outs, the backstage stuff, the behind-the-scenes stuff, whatever you want to call it. Dive a little bit deeper in the podcast. My wife, Angie, went with me so she can give her experience. Who knows what her experience might have been. And all the other stuff we did around the event. So we'll talk about that over there. But it was quite the event. We'll get into it here in the toy news. But first, got to thank our friends, jaystoysandgames.com. Use code Kyle. Save yourself 15% on all in-stock items. Got to get a deal over there. A lot of Mythic Legions moving through there with the official release date of all the new Legion figures. So I think they might be sold out by now, or at least most of it's sold out. But check out Jay's. A lot of stuff coming over there. Trust me on that. I got to go over there and see what's going on here in the last couple of weeks. So more on that very soon. Patreon this month, it is McFarlane Turtles as the giveaway. A lot going on Patreon. Giveaways, monthly Q&A. I got to film this weekend for the exclusive portion over there. You get glamour shots of all the videos, early access, you guys know. Patreon, best way to support this YouTube channel, and all the stuff that entails with that there. So there's our housekeeping. Got the housekeeping out of the way. Like I said, episode 299 this week, 300 next week. So we got to make it special somehow, Todd. Maybe Todd will wear socks and shoes. We'll see what happens there. But I talked about Mattel Revealed. Mattel Revealed is where I was. I did the live stream. I was part of the WWE portion. Geek Dad Live Jay was there. Pixel Dan as well. We were kind of the three amigos for this thing because we were kind of on that side. I don't know anything about the Hot Wheels stuff. I don't know anything about the Barbie stuff. I don't know anything about the Monster High stuff. I don't really know anything about the K-pop Demon Hunter stuff. So we kind of stood in too cool for school in our own corner, and then everybody else was over there. But it was quite the event, and I will say I got a lot of messages. You probably saw a lot of messages. There was people that said, this is going to be just a huge reveal. It's going to be like San Diego Comic-Con on steroids. Come on, we got to set our expectations. This is the third year for Creations. You know what you're going to get for the most part with this. You got to set your expectations. This isn't San Diego Comic-Con. Each brand had, 15 minutes or whatever it was to give a little bit of a video package or two, talk to me, or whoever it was, Pixel Dan, whatever, get a little backstory on our figure, and I'll talk about all this in the podcast. And then a bit of a reveal, hitting the button, getting the reveal, all that. So it's not like they were going to sit there and rattle off, here's 1,000 new names to the WWE Mattel line. We got one item as an exclusive. It was Stone Cold Steve Austin, $35 on Mattel Creations right now. I got to reveal that one. Now, you guys heard me on there. I thought it would be a Legends Ultimate. I guess I was half right. Usually they do Ultimates for Mattel Creations, so I was kind of thinking that. I didn't have that Stone Cold anywhere in my brain as like, this is the what they're going to do. But thinking about it, and like I said on the stream, once again, made all the sense in the world. You got 3/16 day was that week. Obviously, they can't move the date. It was 3/19, but 3/16 was during that week. It's the 30th anniversary of the ascension of Stone Cold Steve Austin. It just fit the narrative. It makes sense. It's a good idea, and it's a great exclusive for Mattel Creations. Yes, I totally understand. We have a million Stone Colds. So you get that Stone Cold once again. You get a shirt with him and some of that. But the selling point on this one is the throne. It is the crown. It is the little holder for the crown. That's what it's about with this set. For me personally, maybe not you. That's what it's about. We can use this with our Harley races, our Junkyard Dogs, our Macho King Randy Savage, heck, our Hacksaw Jim Duggins if we want to. There's some options with this. So I thought it was fun. I thought it was a perfect exclusive. It makes sense for the time period. I know a lot of people, I saw it in the comments, oh, it's red and black for Mattel Creations. That means they're going to announce the Legion of Doom. No, there was not going to be a Legion of Doom announcement. I knew that going in. We all should have known that. They weren't going to announce a Danhausen figure because Danhausen literally just signed this month. It takes a year to get figures. They couldn't even get a render out that fast. At best, we might see a render if they really put the jet to it. We might see it at San Diego Comic-Con or maybe WrestleMania even, but that's a quick turnaround. You got to remember, it takes a year full cycle. And Danhausen, there's a lot of intricacies with Danhausen. It's not just a Goldberg or a Stone Cold, which you can make pretty easily. But we'll get to those. They're going to make all the Danhausens in the world. And this wouldn't be the event to announce the Legion of Doom are coming back or re-sign. It's just not the event for that. It is what it is. It's not San Diego Comic-Con. So you have to set your expectations. But it was a fun event to continue to promote the Mattel Creations name, go there for exclusives X amount of times a year, and to see some of the stuff, some of the fan base, some of the properties. I thought it was a very fun event. Obviously, maybe I'm biased because I got to go out there. I'm not sure, but I had a lot of fun going out there, a lot of fun getting to reveal something. I'll be picking up 2 of these Stone Colds. Now, I thought they were going to be there in the house ready to go. They said, hey, you're going to have to write your address down and we'll ship it out. So I don't know when they're going to ship out. Hopefully in the next week or 2, I'd imagine. But I'm going to order another one of these. I want 1 mint on card, 1 loose, obviously. And it's kind of my Stone Cold figure. I got to announce it, so I'll always, whenever I see this, I'm like, oh, remember that time I went to LA? So Stone Cold, by no means, you know me, I'm a Stunning Steve guy. But whenever I look at this, it'll always remind me of that trip. So that's something fun personally here for me. So I'm cool with that. Once again, it's on Mattel Creations, $35. Now, there was some other announcements, not very much. And once again, it's setting expectations. We actually got more than I assumed. And we know what happens when we assume, Tom and Farland. We got more than I assumed in this one here. They did show 4 figures, and it seemed to be Saturday night's main event themed here. We saw Jey Uso, no stranger to the action figure game. CM Punk, no stranger. Hulk Hogan, no stranger. Hulk Hogan with a Saturday night's main event shirt. And then one Hillbilly Jim. Possibly, if you ask 100 people, who's your favorite hillbilly? I think 98 of those people would say, well, Hillbilly Jim, of course. He's just a good old country boy. But we saw Hillbilly Jim, his return to the elite line after, 15, 16 years at this point. Absolutely wild. Now, we're assuming once again, but it looks like a Saturday night's main event theme. Is this like a Target exclusive box set of these 4 figures? Kind of like the Hall of champions throughout the years. Here's some Saturday night's main event performers from modern day to the old days. Is that what we have here? I'm not sure. I think the fan base, maybe just the hardcores, would be a little upset about that 4-pack. Like, I don't want Jey Uso. I don't want CM Punk. I only get legends. Or the other way, I only get new guys, not legends. There could always be that. Hulk Hogan, we've had so many, and I didn't look at all the details on the Hulkster, but it looks like your paint-by-numbers Hulk Hogan with the Saturday night's main event shirt on. Maybe they move some heads around or something. But let's be honest, people love the Hulkster. The Hulkster sells. It's a business at the end of the day. But Hillbilly Jim, I think, is the star of this pack. It's been a long time. And the worrisome thing, if it is a 4-pack, Hillbilly Jim stuck behind that 4-pack is going to disappoint a lot of people, because how much meat on the Hillbilly Jim bone is there? How many different looks? You get the black boots, red boots like Jakks Classic Superstars did? Maybe. But a lot of people would be mad about that. So I don't know. And we don't know it's a 4-pack. It very well could be a new pay-per-view series. They do the SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania. They do all those series every year. Maybe they're going to add a Saturday night's main event series in. Maybe that'll be something. Maybe there'll be a Build-A-Figure with it. Who knows what could happen? But we don't know for sure. But that's going to be rough if that's your only chance to get the Elite Hillbilly Jim, because I don't see a lot of other Elite Hillbillies. Now, I can see an Ultimate in the Coliseum collection eventually. That makes all the sense in the world. I can see that maybe WrestleMania. That'll be the next announcement. That could easily happen. So we'll see, but it's exciting to get a new legend like Hillbilly Jim, a classic character. Fits a lot of holes, plugs a lot of holes, Tom McFarlane. You can see Hillbilly Jim in the retros. You can see him in the Superstars collection. Coliseum, as I said. Maybe 1 or 2 elites. Obviously, the Legends line would be a good place for him. Who knows? Maybe they'll give us a deep cut Harley Davidson or something. Everybody knows he was Harley Davidson. Very few people ever saw him wrestle as Harley Davidson. But I would love to see some more Hillbilly Jim. And I thought that was a pretty cool announcement. Quasi-announcement, whatever you want to call it. And the other quasi-announcement was, at first I thought it was Mr. Iguana, but it is Penta. You could tell it's Penta. Looks to be an Ultimate Penta in green and black attack, like a young Overkill. Bobby Blitz, am I right? Shout out to Bobby Blitz over there. Where's Rat Skates? We're going to try to find Rat Skates one of these days. Real ones know the Overkill, of course. But green and black attack Penta looks pretty good. They're going to keep pumping out those Pentas. I spent some time with Magic there. Told him how great of a job he does. He's the Penta whisperer at this point with his time at Jazzwares and Mattel. He's killing it with these Penta figures, so I can't wait to see this one. Have to assume, we know what happens when we assume, Todd McFarlane, the interchangeable mouse will continue with this one, so you'll be able to mix between your main events, elites, ultimates, everything else under the sun. But maybe pump the brakes on Penta. I know they want to strike while the iron's hot, and it almost feels like 2026, the year of Penta, 2027, the year of Danhausen. Could be, but I'm excited for another Penta. We're going to have Penta in all colors of the rainbow. And Penta's in his brain like, okay, I keep changing the gear, keep it moving. I'm going to get more figures. The old Rey Mysterio principle, it worked for Rey, it'll work for Penta as well. But I think a lot of people are excited for that. Could that possibly be a Mattel Creations exclusive, maybe for WrestleMania season? We'll see what happens. So some stuff up in the air, but we know we got a ton of stuff to be announced here in a couple of months. Not even a couple of months, a couple of weeks at WrestleMania. They weren't going to blow their load like Todd on the couch here. They weren't going to do that with this Mattel Creations. They're going to give us just a little of what we saw. Going to be a lot of stuff at WrestleMania, as we do know. So much more on that, but much more at Mattel Revealed. Now, I don't know anything about a lot of these properties there. And some people would say I don't know anything about the wrestling properties, but Hot Wheels, Monster High, Uno. Can you believe I've never really played Uno? I don't even understand how to play Uno. They had that going on, the Monster High, the Barbie. Not really my wheelhouse. I kind of hung out over there with Jay from Geek Dad Life and, of course, one Pixel Dan. Pixel Dan and I getting ready to drop the hottest podcast. We're going to do a podcast together. It's going to be a hot one. We'll see. Maybe, maybe not. But we talked a lot. We kind of hung out because we were kind of in the same wheelhouse, I guess. The Barbie, Monster High, people kind of stuck together. Those Uno players, though, they're wild cards. You don't know what they're up to. Dangerous individuals. Dangerous. Look like some of those people I saw in Oz back in the day. Who knows? But we kind of hung together and talked that. Obviously, I'm a big He-Man guy. I even mentioned it on the stream. I wanted to get a little He-Man plug in there because He-Man, very important to my collecting fan base as well. So very fun. And this event here, it was very Masters themed, and it should be. I mean, I know I heard some people say should have been more WWE than Masters. This is a pivotal year for the Masters Universe brand, so I knew it was going to be heavy. They brought two people in, and Jay and Dan for that. We knew we were going to get a lot of stuff with them. Makes all the sense in the world. And I even told Steve Ozier, I said, Steve, you know what we should have done for this is, you know what Mattel should have done? Masters of the WWE Superstars, Masters of the WWE Universe. I think that would have been a great idea. They should have done that. You got those superstars. And he just looked at me, and I think he knew I was joking. Obviously, we had those a couple of years ago, but man, that would have been a great announcement for this time of year. Like, we're bringing back the Masters of the WWE Universe. They're coming back. That would have been a great thing. I would have been here for it. My two loves bringing together. But a lot of He-Man crossover. We saw it with the Skeletor Monster High doll. There was a lot of excitement about that. Some people were groaning on social media, but they groan about everything. We know how that goes as well. But at the end of the day, the business hat goes on. Monster High team's like, well, we'll get our Monster High people with this. But can we get Pixel Dan to buy a couple of these? Can we get some other people to buy some? It's all about synergy. It's all about unifying your lines, getting the most out of your molds, and getting the most out of your properties. And that's what they're doing there. And if they were going to do it, this is the year to do something like that. Makes all the sense in the world. So we saw that one. We also saw the Laser Light He-Man. We got to assume, once again, Skeletor will be here in the future. Another missing piece of the Origins puzzle. I did pick up one of those while I was there. I will have an unboxing on the channel very soon. So can't wait to dive into that one. So we did see that. We also saw the James Jean Battle Cat He-Man Panther Skeletor, two different 2-packs, I guess is what they are. That was a total surprise to everybody. That was the final reveal of the day, and nobody knew what it was going to be. We didn't even know if it was what property or anything it was going to be. I guess I never once crossed my mind that it was going to be WWE for some reason. Maybe because it was over that way towards Masters and stuff. That's why I kind of assumed, once again, that's the word of the day, assumed is what it is. But I never even crossed my mind until right now that it possibly could have been WWE. It could have been the Legion of Doom. Who knows? But it was a pretty cool reveal there. Now, historically, I'm not a huge fan of these artsy type things there. Yeah, I'm not an artsy guy for the most part. But I thought it looked really cool. Obviously, the Skeletor Panther, way better than the He-Man Battle Cat. He-Man Battle Cat looked very She-Ra inspired. It was an interesting one, but it was very artsy seeing it in person, especially the boxes on them. Very artsy. So not going to be for everybody. Kind of like that chocolate Battle Cat, chocolate He-Man Skeletor, Battle Armor Skeletor, whatever it was. It's a little of that artist flair. And with that comes the artist price point, which I knew. I was like, how much is this going to be? Like $300 for both of these? Looks like they're each going to be $100 a pack. So have to assume, once again, that's the word of the day, Todd McFarlane, that they're going to be fairly limited. And when they're gone, they're gone. I really want that Skeletor one. I thought that looked really cool. The red and black attack looked really nice. And I feel like if I get that, I gotta get the other one. And I could see my wife, I could say, hey, how about the bookshelves? We have all these bookshelves up by the fireplace in the living room. Since they're kind of artistic, how about we put them up there? And I think she would agree to that. And then once again, it goes to the thing, well, I came out here, I was there for the debut of this. I feel like I needed my collection to represent it. And then I'm kind of like, do I need this Hot Wheel thing? Do I need the Monster High and the 14-inch Barbie? 14 inches? Who can take 14 inches of Barbie? I'm not sure. But do I need this in my collection? And I think I will break down. It's an expensive time of year, as we do know tax season after all, but it looks like that's going up on the 25th. But I like the thinking outside the box idea. There is people that want that. Once again, you're crossing over with the artist, getting his fan base to buy things that maybe they wouldn't buy. All about that synergy. All about that synergy and assuming too. Don't forget that. So we'll see where that ends up going, but it is going up for pre-order. I guess that's probably next week, I guess. So $100 each, plus tax, shipping, all that kind of fun stuff. Be ready for that. And if you're a Club Grayskull member, you might get an early thing on that. And it's funny how many people caught this. I was hoping somebody would. I actually saw 3 people caught this in the live stream. They mentioned Club Grayskull, and I was on camera, and I immediately tugged on my collar. It was like Carol Burnett. Didn't she apparently used to tug on her ear for some reason? That was what I was doing. I was giving the sign to everybody, tugging on the collar. Club Grayskull. You got to have a collar to get in. And 3 people caught that. Those are the real ones out there. Shout out to them. But we saw those. We also, and that was pretty much it, I guess. I already talked about that Skeletora or whatever, Monster High. We saw some K-pop Demon Hunters, which it's funny is my kids are such K-pop snobs at this point. That's for the non-real K-pop fans. Those are for the basic fans. They're like, we're talking about our zero base ones and our 82 majors and teases and whatever else they listen to with the K-pop stuff. But they had no interest in the K-pop dolls. I thought they might want those, but no, they don't want them. They don't want them. But it was quite the event over there at Mattel Revealed. It was a fun time, especially if you set your expectations. You set a 2-hour window to enjoy talk of some of your favorite properties, some behind-the-scenes stuff. It was just an all-about thing. A lot of people were shocked that, hey, I have 20,000 figures, probably 20,000 plus at this point in my collection. That was kind of a conversation in the room there and apparently on social media a little bit as well. I think most people that watch this channel probably could assume that. Once again, that's the word of the day. You could assume that you'd probably do the math. I do 4 unboxings every single day and sometimes, multiple figures in each unboxing. And we've done that for 5 years plus my collection. You do the math. Yeah, you're way above 20,000 at this point. So it's a burden. It's a burden, Todd. Let me tell you. But more on all that on my podcast. Once again, we'll give some of the details, the flight, the meals, hanging out with the old Danny Pixel, Jay from Geek Dad Life, good brother Mark. We'll talk about Mark more in the podcast. He was helping us out big time. So we'll talk about all that. But it was a fun time. Kudos to the Mattel team. Thanks for bringing me out there for this. And it was fun. It was a fun time. So there you go. That's a little of the Mattel Revealed. But you can't believe this. There is more wrestling news to talk about, including Power Town. Let's get down to it. Regime this week, the franchise, Shane Douglas. We knew that was coming, but what about Dean Douglas? We got Dean Douglas before from Grapplers and Gimmicks, but we're getting him in the Regime line as well. Going to fit good in that little window he was in, but we can have him against Shawn Michaels and Jeff Jarrett's of the world. So we got that coming. And then Mongo McMichael, Steve Mongo McMichael. We just recently, about a week ago, unboxed his Grapplers and Gimmicks figure. Now we're going to get a Regime here coming very soon. He's going to have a lot of work to do with those regimes. We got a lot of those starting to pile up. It's going to be a very expensive time. Hopefully he can space those out a little bit. Once again, I talk about it. I think the G.I. Joe team, once upon a time with the Figure Subscription Club, did it right. You got 1-2 figures every single month. You knew like clockwork they were coming. If any of these third-party toy companies can get into a groove like that, where their customer base has expectations, they know this is coming, and oh, by the way, you buy everything for a year, or you sign up for a year at once, whatever you do, you get some reward points, a figure maybe, something like that. I think there's meat on the bone there, and I would love to see one of these companies attempt something like that. I think there's some meat on the bone once again. But speaking of Grapplers and Gimmicks, we did see the Goon. That's a pretty fun one as well. One of the funnest deep cut Mattel Elites we ever got, and I'm going to assume, once again, I'm going to keep saying it today, that we're going to have another fun one here from Grapplers and Gimmicks as a deep cut retro. So I'm here around that one. That should look pretty good. We did see this week out of left field here, Mr. Fuji. Yes, that Mr. Fuji coming to the Nerd Closet Map Maniacs. That's an interesting one because we just recently got an Elite. So that tells us that Mr. Fuji playing a little of that Billy Gunn, Jake the Snake Roberts action where he's doing other things outside. So we're going to get some Mr. Fujis. We're going to get the classic one. You know, there's a lot of versions of Fuji. I would have to believe maybe in the future we'll get a 2-pack with the traditional Fuji and the Yokozuna Fuji. But we need some Mr. Fuji for our Powers of Pain, our Yokozuna, our Demolition. Meat on the old Mr. Fuji bone. And we're not talking about Jimmy Snuka's dog. No sirree. So I was very excited about that announcement. Can't wait to see where that goes. Can't wait to see where the rest of these Matt Maniacs go, because I just got a huge package in the mail here of all their new stuff, and we will be unboxing those on the channel, so be on the lookout for all those. Turning and burning, doing really fun figures. Really fun, and I like that they are very different than the other retro companies. Really makes them stand out. So kudos to that team over there. Can't wait to see what happens more in the future. But we're not done. Latuni on Friday announced they have a mystery figure coming, I believe, April 1st. April Fool's Day. Oh, maybe it's a big elaborate trick. Could you imagine that? Yeah, we said we had a special figure. It was just an April Fool's. I don't think they're going to do that, but we'll see what that ends up being here. So stay tuned to Latuni social media to find out what that could be. Just unboxed, bring home all the action. Macho Man Randy Savage this week. A pretty fun niche figure, but if you're a Macho Man fan, you probably need that one in your collection. Looking very good. We did see Title Run Toys this week officially announced they are shipping out the Jumping Bomb Angels and the Beverly Brothers. I did get my tracking for the Jumping Bomb Angels. Should have those maybe tomorrow. We'll see what happens. I got to update that one and look, see what's going on. I realized I forgot to order the Beverly Brothers, so I'm going to have to figure that out, I guess, in the future. Is what I'll have to do. Future Kyle problem. But we got Title Run Toys coming after a little bit of controversy, and I'll say there was controversy around it, but kudos to them as they immediately sent out an email to address the controversy. That's the thing. Things happen. You don't want them to happen in business, but things happen. If you're transparent with your consumer, that goes a heck of a long way. And that's part of Powertown's huge problem. We understand delays. We understand things. But if you were constantly communicating or reasonably communicating, we wouldn't have problems. But here we are, years later, Todd, years later. We do got Top Rope Collectibles this week. Kind of been a little bit in the weeds lately, but we got 3 versions of 2 Cold Scorpio, 3 versions of Marcus Alexander Bagwell. I would love to see a variant Handsome Stranger. Watching GWF as a kid on ESPN, the Handsome Stranger, so handsome. I remember saying, man, if I was just front row and I just lived in Texas, maybe I could get that rose from the Handsome Stranger. Oh, what would I do with that rose? Probably nothing. Throw it back in. It was probably what I would have done. But we do have those coming from Top Rope Collectibles. We've seen that theme there. Every figure you get 3 variants, getting the most out of your mold, stuff we talk about all the time here on the channel. We saw all that kind of stuff. But that is the majority of the news. But of course, you can't have a toy news at this point until we can stop finally. One day we'll be able to stop this segment. But it is time for the Powertown Update.
Are you ready for pain? Are you ready for suffering?
All right, it's time for the Powertown Update. We got a few little nuggets this week here. And I don't know if you saw last week's, Todd. You were looking sleepy from the couch. That should be me today here. But we did see Steve and his turtle, Old Snappy, last week.
Okay, you non-believers, what about this? Can you give him a big smile, Snappy? Attaboy, he's a good boy. Now what do you think, folks? You think I got a friendly turtle or what? He's just a good boy. Loves to be petted and held, just like I told you. Old lion.
Can you believe that? Steve Rosenthal, and I'll catch you guys up real quick from last week. He has been busy domesticating a snapping turtle, and that's why we didn't get our figures in a timely fashion. But now that the snapping turtle is apparently full-on domesticated, as we can see in the video, we should be getting the figures very soon. And maybe that'll be a big announcement this week, as we did see news come out that Dale Earnhardt Jr., yes, Dale Earnhardt Jr., not senior. I think on my podcast, I told the story about the day Dale Earnhardt died. A wild time. I've never seen so many meat cutters cry. It was a wild thing. It was weird for little Kyle with these manly men all huddled together in the break room crying. It was a wild time, but check out the podcast for more stories like that. But it looks like Magnum TA is going to be on Dale Jr.'s podcast. And apparently Dale Jr., huge Magnum fan. Huge Magnum fan. I wonder how much money Dale has into the Powertown figures. That'd be interesting. That's the question. Maybe they'll have a call-in segment. I could call in. But I'm not sure. I don't know if I could listen to a NASCAR podcast. Sorry for you NASCAR fans. Not me. I don't know anything about this race car driving stuff. But I would be very interested if there's Powertown discussion on here. Will Magnum say, let's just not talk Powertown. Let's talk about, the I Quit match with Tully. Let's talk about that. And I could see that because apparently Dale is a huge Magnum fan, so he's probably going to geek out over childhood memories and stuff. I doubt Powertown comes up. I don't know why it would come up. I mean, unless Dale's like just oblivious to it all and says, oh yeah, what's this action? I got your figure here. What's your action figure thing going on? And Magnum will be like, oh man, I got one more in me. Let me tell you that, Dale Jr. But we'll see if anything comes out of that. Maybe one of you good brothers or sisters out there could recap that podcast for me and send the notes my way. Yes, you're right. Somebody will joke. They'll say, oh yeah, he did this, this, and this. And I'll roll with it and it'll be all nothing but trouble. So we'll see where that ends up going here in the future, but it sounds like there could possibly be some Powertown news next week, but we'll see. But some interesting turn of events this week, though. I did have Steve, after he was working with Snappy, reach out to me, and Magnum actually text me, but they both said, hey, this Powertown thing is not going very well. It's not really going well. And I said, you're kidding me. It's not going well. I thought it was going swimmingly. I thought you guys were going to be neck and neck on the planograms with Mattel on the next reset. You guys were going to see who would actually have more space. That's what I thought that was going to happen. But I was shocked. But they said, they said to me, Kyle, and they both said this separately, which is interesting. They said, Kyle, there's a possibility this Powertown thing might not work out for us. And I said, no, that can't be. Don't think that way. Don't think that way. And they said, I don't know what I'm going to do because we were really counting on this, making us the money. And, we're going to rich and retire and not have to worry about things anymore. What can we do? How do we create a better life for ourselves here without the Powertown? And I said, you guys came to the right place. Good old Kyle, the wise man of the internet. He knows everything. I'm just a businessman at heart. I can tell you guys what to do. So I sent them a little video. And you know what? I happen to have the video here, Todd McFarlane. You're exactly right. I said, let's just play it for everybody here. But they said, what can we do with our future? We're very worried about it. I said, I got just the thing for you. Do this video, follow the video, and here it is.
I'm working for an hourly wage. I went to high school, didn't do great. Still, I gotta make more cash. More education is what I'm looking at. When I get a degree, I will make a bigger salary. So now I've got to see which college is right for me. I went on the internet and found Education Connection. I took some free tests to find out my direction. I'm taking my classes online, getting my degree on my own time. Education Connection matched me with the right college for free. Get connected for free with Education Connection. Get connected for free with Education Connection.
And I'm very hopeful for the future of one Magnum TA and Steve Rosenthal, that they can get their future together and they can get their degree finally here. Magnum, he said he's got one more in him. Who knew it was going to be a degree? And maybe it makes me want to go back and finally finish off that one class away from a minor in film. Maybe I'll go with Steve and Magnum and we'll be like summer school. We'll be like Rodney Dangerfield back in the day. I should watch that movie. I've heard good things. Never seen it though. Never seen it. But that is the Powertown update this week. Full of news. But we got more stuff. And as our old friend Jerry Reed always says, all right, we got a little bit of toy news to round out this episode of the Toy News, episode 299 once again. Haulathon Collector Con this week. A bit of a bummer for me here. I was on my red-eye flight here. I'm filming this on Friday. I was in the air, somewhere over the Mojave Desert, I think is where I was. Maybe farther than that. Maybe Nebraska. Who knows where I was? But I missed out on the Haulathon, so I missed out on the Turtles. And of course, being over in LA, guess what? All my Target stores hit the Haulathon while I was gone. I come back to Peanuts, and then I did find some out there in LA, but I didn't have room. I didn't want to have to ship it. It's a whole thing. So I missed out on a lot of this Haulathon stuff, unfortunately. I'm going to have to pick some bones out, hope for a restock, or play the long game, or maybe the never game on some of it. So Target Haulathon didn't go so well for me. I missed out today. We'll see what happens next week, I guess. This is going to be a Friday staple here for the next couple of weeks. And then the Walmart Collectors Con, I was all ready. So Pacific time, they went live at 7 a.m. And that was the day of the show for Mattel Creation. So I was having to go to hair and makeup at 7:30. You'll see that in the special video as well. Hair and makeup, who'd have thought? But I was all ready at 7 a.m. because our Uber was coming. And I got down there and I was all ready, had it all loaded and just kind of waiting to refresh. And then our friend Pixel Dan came there and we started chatting. And then I realized that we got in the Uber and it was like 7:20. I'm like, oh no, go there. Everything's sold out. About 5 minutes later, I refreshed. I got the Street Fighter figure. So I felt good about that. And then I missed out on Duke. Yep, Duke. I hate to say it, missed out on Duke. And I missed out on, what was the other one? Oh, the other G.I. Joe, the Night Creeper. I missed those two. So I'm sure I'll track them down. Hopefully they restock, something like that happens. But I missed both of those. And then Friday went more successful. I think I got everything out of Friday. So it is what it is. Just bad timing on both these things. Bad timing on Haulathon around my house. It is what it is. What are you going to do? You can't fight City Hall. We know how that goes. But hopefully you had a better Haulathon Collector Con than I did. And then you throw Mattel Revealed on top of that. Pretty expensive week for our wallets. Super 7, we saw April O'Neil, Raphael, and the Hun from their latest wave. Passing on all these. It's just not my era of turtles. I got the 4 turtles from that set. I'm good with just them on display. I don't need the ancillary characters for these years. You like what you like. You don't what you don't. You need what you need. You don't need what you need. Something like that as well. We did see, speaking of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles this week, we did see the official pre-order going up for the Leonardo Mondo figure. Looks amazing. Once again, very expensive. How much room do you have? I really want to get these. Long game at best for me, though. I made that decision this week. We did see that Leprechaun from Trick or Treat Studios that was shown not too long ago, fully funded in the first day. So I thought that was pretty fun to see. I really kind of want this. I don't know if I will, but I'm dangerously on the cusp of ordering that. $600 is a lot of money. But man, a full-size Leprechaun, Warwick Davis, it's pretty tempting, pretty tempting. So we'll see where that goes. But if you want it, you can still get it. There's still time on that Kickstarter. And speaking of Kickstarters, I saw this in my Facebook feed like crazy this week. Follow me out there in all the social medias. But I did see Kolchak the Night Stalker. It was a Darren McGavin. He was in Christmas Story and stuff. But Kolchak the Night Stalker is like the X-Files before the X-Files, like back in the 70s before I was even alive. I don't know. 70s were great. You told me, Todd. I know, but I wasn't there. I don't know anything about that decade. But Kolchak, I loved. I love those movies and all that stuff. I saw him in reruns. I'm a kid that watched a ton of reruns. I always joke about never watching these movies, but I watched every TV show ever. I watched it. I loved half hour, hour at a time. I could zip in, zip out. I go play video games in between, go play baseball, go with my friends. A movie, it was such a commitment. It was such too much of a commitment for little Kyle. But I loved Kolchak the Night Stalker. I love that creepy horror stuff, X-Files-y stuff. So I really enjoyed that, and I love Darren McGavin. I always think he's a great actor in everything he's ever been in. So Kolchak figures kind of playing a lot of hits here for me. And then we get a Janos Skorzeny, and I'm like, wait a minute, I know that name. It's the name of the lead werewolf from, of course, the TV show Werewolf, which is my absolute favorite show as a little kid. If you've never seen Werewolf on Fox, oh my gosh, you got to find it. I think it's on YouTube. It's like the Incredible Hulk, but about werewolves. It's so good. It's some of the coolest werewolves ever. Skorzeny's got that eye patch, so you know he's the evil werewolf. It's so good. I can't recommend it strongly enough, but I'm guessing that's too weird of a name to like not be connected. So I don't know the connection between that, but Janos Skorzeny was the vampire in that. I think it was the first TV movie. Anyways, you can get just Kolchak by himself or a 2-pack with Skorzeny in bloody version variants as well. $95 for the 3 figures if you want to. I'm on the fence of just getting Kolchak. We'll see. I think that'd be cool to have in my collection. But then I was reading a little bit more. It's not based on the movies. It's based on like the comic book. So I'm like, do I want it? But then it looks like it would scale with Marvel Legends. Maybe I put him with like Morbius and Blade and stuff. I don't know. And you know, he's like a newspaper guy, so he could be with Peter Parker if you wanted to. So there could be some meat on the bone for old Kolchak the Night Stalker, but we'll see. But if you're after it, search Kickstarter, search whatever, you'll end up finding it. And then we leave the toy news this week with our friend Todd McFarlane from the couch, and he's got nothing to say. Just a bunch of pre-orders this week, Todd. Just a bunch of pre-orders, I know. But you did film a commercial this week. Was that what you were telling me? You were talking about your competition or something like that, and you were saying it was directed at Power Town, but I don't know if anybody ever said Power Town was McFarlane's competition. And then at the same time, I don't think Power Town's anybody's competition because they don't release figures, so who are they competing with? But then there was that rumor years ago, and we talked about it a lot on the channel, that Power Town was using the same factory as McFarlane. And then Todd, you had all this DC stuff that was ramping up, and obviously that factory is like, you know what? We want more of Todd's money. We know it's good. And so they moved Power Town to the side. So maybe it was some of that stuff there, but it was a wild commercial, Todd. It was good to see this week.
Nice toys, kids.
Nice try, guys.
Spawn from Todd Toys. We're out to plaster the competition.
But that's it. That's the toy news. That's all I got. And I barely got a voice left, but we power through. You know how we do it here on the channel. No rest for the wicked, Ozzy Osbourne style. That's the way we do it. Been a rough week this week. We lost Chuck Norris. We lost Phil Campbell. Oh my gosh, Motorhead. Are you kidding me? Went and paid my respects at the Rainbow, and I was a little disappointed, Todd McFarlane. I didn't see anything Phil Campbell at there. It was Lemmy stuff everywhere, as it should be, but there wasn't like a tribute to Phil Campbell or anything. Like, Phil gone too long. They didn't put a sticker up, a poster, nothing. Neither here nor there. But more on that in vlogs and the podcast and all that kind of stuff. But that is the toy news this week. What are your thoughts? What were you excited for? What were you amped up for? Let me know in the comments down below. How did I do on the live stream? Give it to me. No, don't. Save your comments. Save your commentary. But hopefully everybody had a good week this week. But let me know your thoughts on the toy news this week. Let me know what you're looking for. And of course, don't forget the Patreon. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget all that kind of stuff. SirPaul64 on the X, _Kyle_Peterson on Threads, Instagram, TikTok, TheKylePetersonShow at gmail.com. Also the name of my podcast, The Kyle Peterson Show, available where podcasts are found. Video cast on YouTube. And then, of course, my 2 books, The Complete Guide to the Jakks Class Superstars series, and then, of course, The Complete Guide to ECW Original San Francisco Toy Maker series, both available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble right now. So for another week of toy news, you know what I'm doing. I'm rocking and rolling, strutting and strolling to bed.
Well, are we gonna dance or are we gonna play?